Have you ever felt tired of pretending to be fine in front of everyone? Those nights when you lie still in the dark, staring at the ceiling and ask yourself, why do I still feel restless, even though I've tried so hard? Throughout my journey teaching Stoic philosophy, I've met hundreds of people as entrepreneurs, artists, doctors, people who seem successful but quietly feel empty at the top. And surprisingly, what they lack isn't money, love, or opportunity. It's clarity, the inner kind. The modern world is so loud that we've forgotten the sound of our own thoughts. We're pulled into a race of always wanting more status, more validation, more applause. But Stoicism teaches the opposite. Stop, observe, and face the truths most people spend their whole lives avoiding. A friend once told me, I've read dozens of self-help books, but I still feel stuck. I looked at him and asked, have you truly faced the things you don't want to hear? He went silent. And in that silence, I saw my younger self, the one who also ran from truth, who searched for answers everywhere except within. Philosophers like Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus never talked about escaping pain. They taught the art of confronting it. Facing your emotions, your failures, impermanence, and even death itself. And in that confrontation lies your freedom. Imagine this, you're standing in a room full of mirrors. Each mirror reflects a different part of you, the parts you're proud of and the ones you try to hide. Then there's one final mirror. It doesn't show your face, but your truth. You're living without truly knowing who you are. The moment you dare to face that reflection, you begin to wake up. This video isn't meant to make you comfortable, it's meant to wake you up. Because the truth, as you'll see, isn't gentle, it's ruthless, but it's also the doorway to clarity and peace. Today I want to share 11 Stoic perspectives, lessons I've seen repeat again and again in the lives of people I've worked with. They might challenge you, maybe even hurt a little, but if you have the courage to listen, they'll change how you see the world and yourself. Because in the end, what matters isn't how much you know, but how deeply you're willing to look. And maybe, just maybe, you'll realize the answers you've been chasing were always right here. The world doesn't need you to be perfect, it needs you to be awake one. No one is coming to save you, then. And that's a gift. I once met a man in New York who had lost his job and his marriage in the same month. He told me, I just wish someone would pull me out of this mess. I looked at him and said, no one is coming, but if you can face that truth, you'll start to see your own strength. Sometimes it's in our loneliest moments that we hear the voice within, the one that says, stand up. Marcus Aurelius wrote, stand tall, do yours too. Don't wait for someone to lift you. It sounds harsh, but it's freeing. Because when you stop waiting to be saved, you finally start saving yourself. 2. Emotions drive. Logic rides shotgun. Have you ever done something in anger and regretted it instantly, or argued just to win even when you knew you were wrong? That's because humans aren't led by logic, we're driven by emotion. Logic only comes later to justify what we already felt. One of my students once said, I don't understand why I keep choosing the wrong people, even when I know they're not right for me. I told her, because you're choosing from feeling, not awareness. Stoics don't kill emotion, they observe it. They pause before reacting and ask, what's really driving me? Fear, pride, or the hunger to be seen? And in that pause, they take back the wheel. 3. Everyone acts out of self-interest. It may sound selfish, but it's human nature. Your kind neighbor, your sweet co-worker, your loving partner, all act from some form of personal gain, big or small. I once had a friend who organized community events with amazing enthusiasm. Everyone called her an angel until they found out she was running for city council. She smiled and said, "Why not? I helped others and myself." And she was right. Self-interest isn't evil if it harms no one. Marcus Aurelius himself admitted, "Even when I serve Rome, I serve my own sense of honor." The Stoic doesn't judge motives, they align them wisely. Once you see this clearly, disappointment fades, and strategy begins. 4. When someone shows you who they are. Believe them, I once had a business partner who was charming and punctual, but over time I noticed he inflated numbers, avoided accountability and blamed others. I told myself, he's just stressed, he'll change. He didn't. He had already shown me who he was. The Stoics taught, judge not by promises but by patterns. If someone gossips about others, they'll gossip about you. If they break small commitments, they'll break big ones. Seneca said it best, "The wise man judges not by emotions, but by evidence." Trust actions, not excuses. That's how you protect your peace with both logic and compassion. 5. Comfort is the enemy of growth. I once mentored a young software engineer, talented, bright and well paid. He told me, I want to grow, but my current job feels safe. Change scares me. A year later, he was laid off, and panic followed. He realized comfort had dulled his edge. Seneca called comfort a golden cage, beautiful but imprisoning. The Stoics embraced challenge, not because they enjoyed pain, but because every test refines the soul. Marcus Aurelius, though emperor, lived simply, joined his soldiers in battle, and wrote daily reflections to hold himself accountable. He knew if you only chase comfort, you'll lose your power. So when life gets hard, don't shrink. It's not punishment, it's training. 6. The world isn't fair, but you can still be at peace. I once worked with a woman in California. She had been betrayed by her colleagues, lost her job, and had to start over at 40. One day she asked me, "I don't understand. I didn't do anything wrong. Why do bad things keep happening to good people?" I stayed quiet for a moment, then said, "Because life was never designed to be fair. But here's the beauty, you can still find peace in an unfair world." Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Don't wish for life to be easier, wish to be stronger." Stoics don't deny injustice, they accept reality as it is. When you stop demanding the world to be fair, you can redirect that energy to create fairness within the only space you control: your thoughts, your actions, your reactions. Peace doesn't come from things going your way, it comes from not needing them to. 7. Most people can't handle the truth about themselves. One of the hardest truths I've learned is that people can face anything except themselves. We blame, justify and build pretty stories to protect our image. But the Stoics call this slavery to illusion. I once had a student who said, "I don't understand why everyone hates working with me." When I asked about his tone, his listening, and his responses, he got defensive. "You don't understand, I just demand excellence." The truth was, he couldn't see his own shadow. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If someone points out your faults, thank them. They're helping you improve." Facing yourself hurts, but that pain is freedom. When you stop needing to be right, you start learning what's true, and when you learn what's true, you finally grow. 8. You will die, and most of your worries don't matter. One of my clients, wealthy, successful, was constantly anxious about losing everything. Then one day he was diagnosed with early-stage cancer. Strangely, he became calmer than ever. He said, I've never seen things so clearly. I've wasted so many years worrying about nonsense. In Stoic philosophy, death isn't an ending. It's a reminder to wake up. Memento mori, remember you will die, isn't meant to scare you, but to free you. When you accept that everything can be lost, you finally appreciate what's here. When you understand that time is limited, you stop wasting it on envy, fear, or anger. Seneca wrote, "It's not that we have little time, but that we waste much of it." Maybe today you need to remind yourself of that. 9. Everyone is selling something. Let's be honest. Yes. Have you ever met someone who seems genuinely friendly and minutes later you realize they're selling you something? Not just products, but an image, a belief, or validation. I once sat in a meeting watching everyone, the speaker selling his ideas, the listener selling their agreement, and all of them wearing the mask of kindness. Stoics aren't cynical, they're awake. They don't assume everyone's manipulative, but they understand every person has a motive. When you can see the intent behind the words, you stop being led and start choosing consciously. You stop buying guilt, stop purchasing regret, and start interacting with clarity. That's real freedom. 10 Your success will make some people hate you. I once asked a friend, a well-known author, "What does it feel like to be admired by so many people?" He smiled sadly and said, "Admired? Sure, but along with that comes jealousy, suspicion, and even betrayal from people who once cared about me." When you succeed, you become a mirror, showing others what they could be but haven't become. Instead of being inspired, some feel threatened. Marcus Aurelius knew this well. As emperor, he faced envy, betrayal, and hatred, yet wrote, "No one can harm you unless you allow them into your mind." The Stoic doesn't shrink to please others. They understand that envy is someone else's burden, not theirs. So when your light shines, keep shining. Never dim yourself to make others comfortable. 11. Self-control is the only true freedom, and this final lesson, the heart of Stoicism itself, says, you can't control the world, but you can control yourself. I once asked a class, what makes you lose your temper the fastest? One said, when people lie. Another said, when I'm misunderstood. I smiled and said, none of that makes you lose your temper. You choose to Epictetus wrote, it's not what happens that disturbs you, but how you interpret it. In an age where a single post can ignite outrage, calm is a superpower. Stoics aren't cold, they're deliberate. They don't control everything, just their response to everything. And the moment you understand that, you're no longer a slave to circumstance, emotion, or people. You become truly free, even in chaos. If you've made it this far, you're already different from most. It's not easy to sit and face truths this harsh. People crave comforting lies, but you chose clarity, even when it stings. That choice makes you powerful, blows through, not in dominance, but in awareness. Because once you can't be manipulated, you become unstoppable. Stoicism doesn't teach you to be superhuman. It teaches you to remain peaceful in a world that never stops moving. You can't control others or the chaos of life, but you can master your response. And sometimes mastery starts with just one breath, one pause before reacting, one moment of silence instead of argument. That's the first victory of the mind. I once coached a woman who had been deeply hurt. She told me, I tried changing everyone, but happiness never came. Then she smiled and said, the moment I started changing myself, everything around me softened. That is the spirit of Stoicism. Don't fight the world, observe it with awakened eyes. Stoicism isn't about killing emotion, it's about placing it under the light of reason. Not to become numb, but to love consciously. Not to detach, but to live deeply without being consumed. Seneca wrote, we suffer more in imagination than in reality. When you change your perspective, you change your life. What once made you angry now seems small. What once made you afraid becomes a lesson. And those who once hurt you, maybe they were your greatest teachers. Life isn't easy, but it never has been. But in the struggle you learn to stand tall, to stay silent when misunderstood, to choose kindness even when it costs you, and to smile knowing everything is temporary. If you take only one thing from this video, let it be awareness. Not to be perfect, but to be real. Because only when you're real, you can be at peace. And only when you're at peace, you can truly love the world, even as it stays imperfect. If what you heard today touched your heart, stay with us at Stoic Awakening More, where every video is a quiet conversation between you and yourself, because sometimes a single sentence heard at the right moment can change the way you see the world. Subscribe, share this video with someone who needs a moment of calm, and leave 3 simple words as your commitment. I choose clarity, because when you choose clarity, you're choosing freedom. Peace is not the absence of chaos, it's the calm you hold within it. And I hope after today, you find that calm, right inside yourself.